Bird! Get him! Yeah! Ron Babe was right.
I'm feeling spry. Hey everybody, it's Ron Bain with the Hunting Dog Podcast. Oh my God. It's a Sunday, the 18th. I'm sitting in the middle of North Dakota. All my crew has gone, and I've got 4 more days by myself. In fact, this morning started out with going to a spot that a friend gave me, and I got there, and I couldn't figure out, me, just one guy, I got to get the fence wire up. There's a hot wire up top, and I just kind of said, I don't know how to tell if the fence wire's hot, and I ain't touching it. I'm stupid enough to touch it, but I didn't touch it, and I certainly didn't want Tagus to go under the fence. Anyway, I literally looked to my right, checked my maps, I checked Onyx, not posted, drove to the corner, not posted. Didn't even, and it was getting hot already here today. It was in the high 60s already. And took about a 1 mile, no, not even a 1 mile round trip walk, short walk for the Dakotas, and got Tagus's second pointed sharptail. One yesterday, one today. 3 retrieve. I won't call them retrieves. For some reason, he is not picking them up. Now, he picked up chuckers during his puppy test. Grabs them with authority. I saw him grab a pheasant, but not with authority. And I know these feathers come off here, and I know they're hot. But anyway, I'm going to work on that. But this has been the most epic. This is one that's going to be so easy to go through the sponsors, because there isn't anything here I haven't used and just said made for this trip. Other than I didn't use, anything from Patreon, but those are the people who join Patreon. You know that whole thing, Patreon. Look it up. You can have fun with that. I'm going to have a Zoom room from here this week. I believe I'm going to try to do it Wednesday because I'm probably driving home Thursday. So I'm going to try to do a Wednesday Zoom room to catch up with everybody. Anyway. My Pike Gear title sponsor, pants. It's not really how you introduce it, but I have not. In fact, I've got the wash machine going right now. I'm sitting here in a pair of shorts. It's like 75 degrees outside. I'm finally going to wash them. I've had them on for 7 days. They are literally, when I say made for early season, these are the Tagus, and they are made for the early season. My legs are sorer than. I was not ready for this trip. Thank God the pants were ready for the trip. But they're a little ready. They got dog slobber, dog blood, food, mustard, cheese. It's dust from the road. So I'm washing them as we speak. I could not tell. In fact, I ran into 2 local guys from Minot today. And he saw I was wearing a pair of pants this morning. He says, "Oh, I read a review on those. Are those good?" I said, "Yeah." And he was talking about getting one pair. And I steered him into another pair, but still another pair of Pike Gear. And I showed him the shirts. The best shirt you can wear out here. Long sleeve, keep the sun off you, light as a feather. Well, that's as much commercial as you could ever hear. Now, my gunner kennels, I've got them stacked in. I got the small for V, and I got the intermediate for Tagus, and they're in the back seat of my pickup truck. And, there's nothing to fail on a gunner kennel. And the food crate's got their food, and you know what's in the food crate, Purina. I am not running low. I put a full 37.5, I think that's what the bag is, a Pro Plan in there. And dogs are doing great. You're never going to go wrong. You're never going to go wrong feeding that. And somebody wrote me the other day. They said, "Ron, what's going on with the prices of Purina?" I said, "Hey, what's going on with the prices of everything? I can't tell you. But if you're going to feed the best, feed the best. Don't chintz out on it." Boss Shot Shells, there's a podcast in itself. In fact, I might record something with Tyler. I have hit yesterday. a Sharpie got up. This was not pointed, but the dog had the wind was the wrong way, and this Sharpie got up, and I was like, no. And then there was a Sharpie, as they are staggered around the fields. A Sharpie got up, and when we picked it up, when we paced it off, the bird was dead. Well, no, actually, there was still a little bit of blood coming out of its mouth. Had 2 broken wings and a BB through its back, which made it bleed out of its mouth. And I thought that thing would have been wing-tipped, and that bird was dead, all but dead. And we paced it off. So you figure by the time that bird got up, and then by the time I hit it, it was probably hit somewhere in the 50-yard range, 50 to 60 yard. In my shooting, I miffed. I miffed on 2 sharp tails that were definitely closer. Whiffed. Whiffed just like when I was in Little League. I swung at every ball. 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out. Go sit down. But other than those 2 birds, I don't think I have missed a bird other than those 2 gimmies. All these birds, going away shots, angling shots, crossing shots, I have literally been spanking them. And now, you got to be a good shot. And I'm only mediocre, so I'm saying that Boss Shot Shells just bumped me up to better than average. I would say before I was an average shot, they just put me up to better than average. So there. And they came blasting out of my old they came blasting out of my Weatherby Orion shotgun, which, I was shooting it at some doves last year, or the last 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, this gun doesn't fit me that good. I'm hitting stuff, right? But I don't know. Maybe Boss shells are just like magic in any shotgun because they're working like a champ in my Weatherby Orion. The Garmin collars, literally, I've got 2 of them with me just because I don't want to go without. And I also sometimes forget to charge one the night before. And I know they last for a couple days out there in the field, but I'm always like, I don't want to do that. So the Garmin collars are keeping my dog safe, keeping me navigating. They get over these hills out here, and you can don't think about it. You get on a section of land, you can get turned around in a heartbeat. I can always see where my truck's at. It's so nice. It's so nice. And you know what I use? I use the 550 Plus and the Instinct watch. It is the only combination I would feel comfortable with. I just throw the transmitter in my back of my thing because I'm not going to be doing any. If I have to stop a deer chase, I can pull that thing out of my game bag. I don't wear my 550 in a harness, and I don't wear it hanging on my hip, banging my leg like some people I know do. That just stays in my back collar, and I just look at my watch. Yep, there's the dog. Dog's over that hill. Piece of cake. And I don't know. Between Garmin taking care of the dogs not getting lost, Purina feeding the dogs, and wilderness athletes, canine athlete, hydrate and recover, we have gone through. The whole party was here. It was Trent and Heather, Bill, Scott, Roof, and Matt, and I brought a tub of it out there. And you don't overdo it. You don't put it in every bottle of water, but a couple times a day when you're out on the prairie or anywhere it's hot, especially when it's hot, them dogs will recover better the next day. And I saw that with my friend Matt's dog right off the go. And he had not used it. He heard Trent talking about it. Trent said, absolutely, you watch. And the next day, bingo, dog was pointing birds. Now, I'm exaggerating. But, no, they do, this early season, and I don't care if you're in Michigan right now, it's hotter than a hoot. And if I was back there hunting grouse, if you don't think it's hot there, do not go out in the field without some canine athlete hydrate and recover. Please don't do that to your dog. Your wife and spouses and better halves will appreciate the fact that you bring back a healthy dog that's not, collapsed from heat stroke. Now, it does not keep them from being collapsed with heat stroke because you got to be the dummy that would let them do that. But it does keep them hydrated, and it does help recovery the next day. Seriously, I'm not making that stuff up. Walton's, the only thing I used out here was I made, the potato spice. That's my daughter Jessie's favorite. She puts it on everything, from vegetables to meat, potato spice. and I put it on some sharp tail breast. Very simple. Both sides with some Walton's potato spice. Both sides, not too heavy, but enough. And then cheap long bacon. I know, oh yeah, bacon, big delicacy. I'm telling you, cheap thin bacon, you can stretch that thing around. And I take the breast. This is a hot tip from Ron. You take that breast, and they're shaped little, well, obviously they're longer than they are wider, right? I always take the tenderloins off. I don't want them in there. I save them for another little dish. Fold that in half, and then wrap it in that position with bacon, and then put your skewer through it. And I made a dozen of those the other day. And that meat, that sharp tail meat, because I got it folded over, was pink and juicy. The bacon was just a little crispy, but, I like wiggly bacon. Everybody here said, I can't believe that's all you did. Yeah, just some Walton spice, both sides, fold it in half, wrap it in bacon, put it on the grill, and enjoy the hell out of your sharp tail or your grouse or whatever you're shooting. Doesn't matter. Works on anything. DU Hunting Supply has most of the stuff I talk about, especially when it comes to electronic gear. Go to DU Hunting Supply. Let them know that you want customer service on top of wanting the best equipment. And that's what you'll get. And here's my deck drawer story. We have been hitting the dirt roads here, and if you've been out here, you know what your truck looks like in a day, let alone a week. Now, I got here last Saturday, and this is Sunday. I've been here 8 days driving dirt roads. And there's dust on the inside. There's dust in the cap. There's dust in my eyes. And I open them dust. I open them deck drawers, and my gun's in there and my gear. There is zero, and I mean, I'll take a picture and show you, zero dust. You would think that dust would just migrate in there with the suction and the vacuum. They are waterproof, which makes them dust-proof. And that is nice because the dust out here, I'm going to have this truck detailed, but I won't have to have them look at my deck drawer system because it's clean as a whistle on the inside. Yeah, and my closer. Well, not really my closer. Well, it is kind of my closer. I am finally. Now, I could use Onyx to find a spot. To find a spot somebody gives me. But I've been using the wind direction, the landowner layers, the electronically posted layers, the crop layers. Trent and Heather Hardy are out here, and they've been on the podcast before. And Trent is a Onyx, I guess, geek. I wouldn't say nerd because he's not a nerd, but he is an Onyx geek. And he's literally had to teach everybody how to really use Onyx. And it's a game changer. I went to a spot today, looked at it, blew it up, said, yep, looks good way back there. Way back there wasn't even that far back. But I wouldn't have done it without that in my phone. Absolutely. You can get that for 20% off with the promo code HDP. And I think it's all caps, okay? And you know what really helped? Now, Tagus is a young dog. He did not have a hunting season last year, and that was by design from me. I did not feel at his age that he needed to go out there. I wanted him to connect. I wanted him to be obedient. I wanted him to be wait at the door, wait at the kennel. He is a gentleman's dog right now. But I might have paid the price a little bit getting him ready for his NA test when I found out he didn't have a whole lot of search. Well, still, I used all the techniques from the Upland Institute in raising a puppy. Tie-out stake, way to be released, puppy walks, gun intro. I used all that on Tagus without him ever seeing a bird. He saw his first birds that he contacted probably 4 to 5 weeks before his NA test, which I know I've talked about. I'm not bragging. He did great. Let's just say that. He did absolutely great in his NA test. And I can only say that I was counting on two things: genetics, which were there, and training, which we all get in a hurry to train. Oh, let's get him in dogs. Let's get him into birds. Take him hunting. And that is not always the right formula for every dog. And I would almost tell you it's not the right formula for any dog. Get that layer of obedience. Get that layer of connectivity with your dog. And you could do that by getting the Foundations and Fundamentals course. And even if your dog is already a year old, get it, watch it. You'll figure out where your holes are. Go back and do these things. Dogs can start things over. There is a Control-Alt-Delete-Reset button on a dog. You just have to do it. Yeah. That's it. Man. Whew. I don't know what else to say. How many minutes was that? 14, 49? Well, it was one of my longer ones. Hey, also, if you're still listening and you haven't just turned the goddamn thing off, we did a hunting dog podcast trivia from here the other night, and this will be the third one. I'm going to release it probably Wednesday. This will be the third one, and we did it live here with everybody at Grouse Camp. Somebody is going to try to buy this show from me. It was that fun with a live. I've had to do it on Zooms before. They're fun, but I'm telling you what, it was the hoot, man. Hoot. Talk to you later. Bye. My mother always made me, she goes, don't slouch.
Don't slouch.
Don't slouch. Because if you were in church, it looked bad if you were not like you were supposed to be getting ready to kneel or something. Hey, everybody, it's Ron Bain with the Hunting Dog Podcast. I am at the Wisconsin chapter test today, and Greg Blair from Purina, that would be, how do we call you, Greg? Our Purina rep or the Northeast Purina? What is your title?
The Purina representative for the bird dog group. I cover the whole bird dog group. So it's our NAVDA group. It's sponsor.
Trials,
tests, hunt tests, anything that.
Labrador type?
No, I don't do the retrievers. So
okay, retriever's its own.
We call the bird dogs the pointing dogs. Mm-hmm. So anything that Purina sponsors as far as pointing dogs, I cover that with my team.
Right. How many people do that with you?
Well, my boss, Carl Gunzer, and then I have 2 consultants that work for me. They travel the country as well as I do.
Doing the same thing, just
doing the same thing. They're probably on the road, 2 weekends a month, and I say it's 2 weeks a month I'm on the road. So we pick and choose where we go in different segments that we're familiar with.
How many times have you been to a NAVDA test? This was a natural ability test.
Not more. Yeah, I get to a handful a year. Before this job, I tested a dog in NAVDA.
That's right. You had a setter that you ran.
I had a setter, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Actually, right here at Crystal Creek. But I'm in the area, as you know, in southeast Wisconsin. There's a bunch of clubs. So training on, up here with the Harmeyers or with the Kettle Moraine group, they're all half hour, 45 minutes away. So I can train with them as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. What year did you run back in the day with your setter?
Well, it was 2006, 7, 8,
somewhere in there.
Yeah, mid 2000s.
Yeah.
Yep.
And she did okay.
Prize 2. She didn't complete the track. Let's just say she didn't go far enough.
Yeah.
They gave me every opportunity, but no, she did well.
So, because we're going to talk about, I want you to kind of point out to people like a lot of the different things that are out there for us to do with our dogs, because Purina, for one, sponsors them all, so you guys see them all.
Correct.
But this being a hunt test and you doing a natural ability test, what was her hunting like? Did you feel like did she turn out to be, let's say, a better crippled bird dog as an older dog, or?
I'll be totally honest with you. I ended up selling her before she was 2 years old because I was looking for a field trial dog that really punched and pushed the edges. But I saw early on that she had natural water ability. She loved the water. Mm-hmm. She had a ton of pointing instinct. Tracking, she did okay. If we ever shoot birds, I never lose birds on her. Mm-hmm. But so I was pleased with everything, but I just knew she was going to be an excellent gun dog and not a field trial dog. Yeah. So I ended up selling her. But again, going back to training, I trained with a bunch of the NAVDA guys here, and they just said, hey, let's get her tested, at least natural ability.
Right.
And we had a blast. And it helped in the training aspect by doing that, because I could see what's her drive. What does she need to work on?
Right.
What does she love to do?
Right.
She loved the water. I couldn't
She
believe
just, you had the setter?
Had
a Labrador in the wood pile.
Yeah. She was chestnut, so maybe there was a little chocolate in her.
You never know. I think they do DNA testing now.
Yeah, no.
They're starting to not trust us out there in the dog world.
Right.
So you that wasn't your first dog, but
no, my first dog was a German Shorthair, born in '98, and went through Naster with him.
So yeah, let's start with Nastra then. Like, kind of
Okay.
give people. I only did it one time, and that was back in something. So
Sure.
I don't remember how the rules work.
Well, if you even back up a little further, that we were talking about the tailgate this morning, is there's two sets of competitions. Let's just say there's a testing, like NAVDA tests your dogs,
Hunt testing
tests,
format
where you go against. There's a numbering, there's a
standard, yep.
and then there's field trialing, which the ultimate field trialing is subjective, is someone's opinion.
Right.
So a Nastra's kind of in between there. They do keep score. So Nastra, basically a 40-acre field.
Mm-hmm.
You're braced with another dog. They plant birds every single brace.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know where they are. You sit in a blind while they plant. And then you go out for 30 minutes, and you're basically on a hunt to get as many birds as you can. Dog only has to be steady to wing.
Okay, so you have to be able to produce the bird.
Dog goes on point. The dog's got to stand there till you get there. You've got to flush it. The dog can then break once the bird's in flight or moves from its resting place. Shoot the bird. Dog needs to retrieve it, come back to hand, and then you move on to the next bird. And then the judge is scoring how well a style is, how well his find includes his style, and how hard he hit it or whatever it may be.
Almost the animation of the dog in the task.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the retrieve they score the back, and they score ground coverage and obedience. So at the end of the day, there's 32 dogs, 16 braces. It's a scoring. Were you the top dog? Were you beat out by one bird, which might be you lost by 80 points or whatever it may be? It's the top three dogs.
One retrieve that came in all sloppy-o and
and if he dropped it, if he went over to the water bucket, didn't come straight through, or whatever it may be, you'll get dinged depending on the judge too.
So for that, would the people who are doing that, would they train? When people, I think most people who listen to this show understand steadiness to wing, shot, and fall,
Correct.
which would be a complete steady dog. Would you train to be a little more steady, knowing that you only had to be steady to wing?
Yeah, I mean,
so you didn't have that
urge to break.
Urge to break,
right? That's the ultimate goal, I think, with all of us, is to eventually or want to see a dog that's fully broke as meaning steady to wing and shot, because then they probably won't have those steps backwards.
Yeah.
But usually, I can still remember playing as it might have been the second or third, probably fourth year. My dog's name was Rookie, and I knew as soon that time that I could trust that dog. Those first couple of years, I'm like, he might not. He's going to take this out before I get there. So then you keep training. You're right. You keep training
above the level that you need,
knowing they're going to retract when it comes to the competitiveness. So that's Nastra in a nutshell of how it actually works. Then you get into their championships and how you qualify and how you become a champion is based on a point system as well. 18 points to be a champion. And you get points by winning, first, second, or third.
Right.
But so many of those 18 final points have to be made from you placing first.
Okay, it can't just be all thirds.
No, you have to have, I think, 9 points of your 18 have to be from being first.
Wow.
So, like, Rookie was a one-time champion, but he was only, I think, 2 points away from being a two-time, and I just needed another first before he passed away. So that's how you can be titled the champion, is by point system, which is different than other, field trials and stuff as well.
So I'm going to hit pause here for a second because I'm a little concerned about this wind.
You need me to go like this, like in church?
Yeah, just turn the dial up. Turn it down. All right, everybody, thanks for that little break there. We had to reset our production studio up against the side of the house here. The problem is we're right next to the cook tent.
Actually, it smells really good.
And we're only at 7 minutes, Greg, and lunch is in 10. No.
We got to go.
Let's finish up with Nastra a little bit.
Okay.
Or did we?
Well, we were getting how it kind of differs from the field trial circuit where it's scored and you become a champion with a certain point. So, that's where I started. And it gets people involved because you get to shoot birds, you get to run your dog. They don't have to be fully steady to wing and shot. There is some training involved, but it's a great venue, and it's something that, for Purina and Pro Plan sponsorships, it's one of our better
Is there a lot of events? Like, I wouldn't even know how many.
Yeah, there's 30-some regions, which
wow, that's
I think
a lot.
it's each state plus – or in the state, plus some states have two, like Texas will have a couple, or Illinois will have two, but they're growing fast and they fill up their trials fast, and they have 5 or 6 national champions dog of the year. So they've got a great segment going.
Do they have like an annual meeting type of thing
yeah,
too?
every year in October in Amo, Indiana, is when their dog of the year championship is, and that's where they hold their annual meetings and banquets and stuff like that. So that's NASTRA in a nutshell. That's kind of the first step of what I call field trialing, and then you can get into your AKC and your UKC / American Field Trials, which again is not scored.
Right.
It's subjective to a judge liking certain dog or not.
Or something about that dog.
Something about that dog. And again, if you want to dive into that part, it's similar to NASTRA where the dogs are braced together, 30-minute stakes or maybe an hour, and they're looking for, that is out on a course. NASTRA was a 40-acre field.
Right. Very controlled.
Very controlled. Out of bounds in NASTRA. You can't point a bird out of bounds. That doesn't count. Where on field trials, it's a course that you're following, either on horseback or handling on foot.
Yeah.
And the judge is looking for the dog to stay to the front, 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, like in the clock, all the way around the course. You don't want a dog coming from behind. They want to find birds. And in the older dog stakes, non-derby, non-puppy, the dogs have to be steady to wing and shot. Okay. So when the dog establishes point and you walk up or you ride up to that dog, you get off, you walk up, you flush the bird, you shoot your blank, you go back, you collar them, and you send them on the course again. Again, you don't want any back casting. You don't want them a delayed chase to the bird that you just pointed. I was just going
to ask you about that because you watched Tagus run this morning.
Yeah.
And his third or fourth bird contact turned into a very delayed chase.
Yeah, but there again, you're a puppy, and we'll allow that in the puppy stage.
Right. But a finished dog should be able to just get that bird out of his mind,
move
even
forward.
Though you shot a gun or a blank gun.
Yep.
And then okay, let's go find another bird.
Let's go find another bird on the course. And
that's a lot of like mind training for the dog.
It is. It's repetition, and it's just taking that training to the next level, and then you can get into the whole breeding a bit of old dogs and where it comes from. So in all of these test trials, these are the best of the best athletes.
Right.
And so you're looking for that in your breeding
you're already
program.
Expecting almost every dog to almost perform the same, and one of them just stands out.
One of them is going to stand out in the way that, for instance, if the wind is coming off of your right and there's an edge on the right, you don't want that dog over on the left because it's not taking advantage of that wind on the edge of a field where the birds might be. Odds are the birds aren't going to be out in the middle of a hayfield, mowed hayfield.
Like all birds, they're going to be edge cover.
Edge cover.
Yep.
So as a judge, that's what I'm looking for. How does the dog handle? Does he finish that cast, or does he pull off in the middle of the field for whatever reason and not take it all the way to the end? Does he handle well with you? Does he stay between 10 and 2? And then when he does make bird or she makes bird contact, does he, happy feet? Does he establish and stand there like a statue, or does he want to see the bird? You're taking all those things into mind.
Right.
And as a judging and my partner, after every single brace, if we get dogs that finish that brace, we're saying, okay, there's our first place dog. Next brace comes up, and I'm going, well, that one beat that first brace. Right. So now we got 1 and we got 2. Right. So we're working the day down to be having first, second, and third.
And it would be almost ironic, but it could almost be 10th dog was the best dog. You're like, wow, we just keep seeing better. But it could also have been the first dog.
It could be the first dog because of.
That's hard. You got to keep that picture in your head.
You make notes. You keep track, and there's things that are going to come back to you. But you're right. And some of these trials are 2 or 3 days long. So you're in the saddle judging for that long, but you got to keep notes. You talk about it at night with your judging part. Okay, we're on the same page. You don't want to come to
like number 3 and number 4 was a little
whatever.
And
there could be arm wrestling between the judges, behind the trailer, kicking stones and saying, I don't. So at the end of a trial, be it 12 dogs or be it 62 dogs, if it's a championship, you're going to name a champion and a runner-up.
Gotcha.
And those dogs have to be steady to wing and shot over. The only, and this is the UKC American Field, the only reason to pick a dog up in paper or in black and white is for interference. If it doesn't back and it comes in and steals point and starts ripping birds out, you got to pick that dog up.
That dog's
He's out of contention.
So what happens with the dog that's still behaving and out there?
He gets to finish the hour. He gets to finish by himself.
Without a brace mate.
Without a brace mate.
Wow.
So, but.
That would hurt you getting a bad partner dog then.
Well, it can, but when you're at that level, most of those dogs.
It's not common.
It's not common.
Right.
Now, the dogs could also be picked up because they don't have good manners. They weren't steady to wing and shot. They took 2 or 3 steps forward on the flush. And you as a handler, the judge is not going to use that dog. So, A, I'm not going to waste the judge's time.
Right.
Or I'm not going to leave the dog on the ground and risk the dog getting hurt for whatever reason, get lost. I'm going to say, Judge, thank you. I'm going to pick him up, and I'm done.
But it's always got to be the judge's suggestion?
No.
You could actually say.
The only time a judge has to order you up is failure to, or interference, failure to back, or interfering with another dog's running and keep bumping him and tagging him. Then the judge can order you up. But the judge might come up and say to you after your dog took 2 or 3 steps forward, Ron, we got better dogs to use.
Yeah.
Now he's telling you, you can stay down,
right?
But we're not going to use your dog.
Right. Your dog is not in the running
Correct.
today.
And out of respect for the other handler, too.
Mm-hmm.
You're not in contention, so why screw that other dog up? Pick him up and be done.
Right. And I could picture the training, like, say, these are, again, already trained dogs, but let's say this dog starts getting, what'd you call it?
Happy feet.
Happy feet,
Yeah.
And we don't want them to have happy feet.
No.
When they point, that's it. No more movement.
Right.
So if a dog, for some reason, got lucky with fines and did that 4 times in that day, that's the last thing the owner wants, because in a dog's head, I just did something 4 times in a row and I didn't get in trouble for it.
True. And that's where a lot of the owners, the handlers, the trainers are going to say, you know what, I don't want to go backwards with this dog.
That's what I'm getting
So
at.
in my training, especially with a 2, 3, 4-year-old dog that's just getting into it, you don't want them to get those bad habits. So you're going to pick them up and be done.
Right.
But also from a judge's standpoint, you don't want to start picking up dogs real early in a trial for little infractions like marking flight maybe a little bit if they don't move their back end, or maybe taking a little, because you might come to the end of the second day, go, Ron, we don't got anything.
We don't have, because some of these trials too are on wild birds.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
I mean, some aren't, but some are.
Yes. And so you don't want to get stuck with, you want to pick the best dog of that trial. Now that best dog might go out and knock it out 4 times and on his 5th fine mark flight, or maybe spin a little bit. Mm-hmm. As a judge, I'm going to leave that dog down, and I'll talk to my partner about that later that evening and just say, hey, this is what I got. That dog had the best stamina, had the best finish, hit all the edges, did everything right. On that 5th fine, though, he did get a little bit loose on his feet, but you know what? That's the best dog we've got.
That's the best. And that could be a 2 or 3 day
try.
So like with a hunt test, you get your results that day, right?
Right.
And with that, you're like, okay, I'm done. I can go home.
You can go home.
You got to stick around.
You might want to stick around, or if a dog's with the pro, he's going to be there the whole time anyway.
Right.
So it doesn't really matter. So it's a double-edged sword. As a judge, you don't want to cut your throat and throw all the dogs out, and at the end have nothing.
Right.
But as a handler, you also don't want to go backwards with your training and say, you know what, I'm done.
Right.
If you go to pick your dog up on a minor infraction and the judge says, we might want to see him a little longer, you might want to just listen to those hints that the judges are telling you.
I'd say so. All good judges are really there to help, basically.
They're there to help. And if they're not, you typically you don't really want them as a judge, because you're really there to find the best dog.
Right.
So,
and then we know there's no best dog, but on a given day, one dog can certainly look better.
Well, and that's what I found with training or handling as an amateur, running against these dogs that I've read about. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh boy, I'm getting scared. But you know what? Every dog has their day.
Yeah.
And that dog that's a 3-time champion could get lost, not be there at the end of the trial or at the end of a stake, and so he's out of contention. And it just, the dominoes fall that, I had a good run.
Yeah.
It was my day.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the other segment of field trialing, and then you get into AKC. And when I say this, every breed of pointing dog can be in these field trials, from the wire hairs, the Brittany's, the Vizslas, the wire hair Vizslas.
Right.
Excuse me. The pointers,
Slovakian,
the setters.
wire hair
pointers. So it's a pointing dog field trial. And same with NASTRA. It's not breed specific. And then what we were talking about before is there's the hunt tests or the NAVDA tests, where you actually have duties that you have to perform, and the judges actually write a number, and you kind of can know a little bit more about that being a judge. So then at the end of the day, you've got a prize 1, 2, or 3 if you pass or failed in the hunt test.
And in our systems, in the versatile systems, and there's a few of them out there, there's never a point where we say pick up your dog.
Correct.
Because you're there to go through.
Do it all.
But yours is all based on that. Like, you guys aren't going to be heeling off lead and
No.
picking ducks out of water. So
No.
all your money's in one basket.
1 hour steak or
Yeah.
1 30-minute steak. And again, as going back to field trial, if you'd had a good day
Yeah.
or if you're ready just to pick them up and try again tomorrow. So, but that's kind of the difference. I would tell someone if they're new to this, if they want a pointing dog and they want to do more than hunting, the foundation of it all is the same as training.
Right.
Get a part of a NAVDA group and train. Get a part of like our club here in Wisconsin and come train with us. Then pick what fits your dog the best.
Right.
I might have a dog that can't stay in a 40-acre field in Astra, and he's always running hard and running off.
Could be a great dog.
field trial dog.
Right.
You know. But then again, I just like the camaraderie of a group, and we go test and we go to the water and we do duck search. Well, there's a NAVDA group for that.
Right.
So you need to find the dog that you like, or maybe even find the segment that you like. And maybe we were talking before, find a trainer that you's local to you that can help guide you, and then find a segment or a place that you can fit in.
Yeah, but go attend some tests.
Exactly.
There's everywhere you go, somebody will talk to you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's never like, we're not at a Rough Grouse Society banquet where nobody wants to talk about their spots.
Yeah. We're not hot spotting anybody.
No.
So.
I have not done all of them, and I told you last time we recorded, I don't know, it was a year and a half ago.
A couple of years.
Yeah. That I've yet to walk or watch, and I'd like to ride.
Sure.
Not that love horses, but if I get a nice quiet horse.
Yeah.
Just that perspective of being on horseback has got to be advantageous.
It is.
It's just a different view of it.
And that's the fun thing too about field trialing is you can do walking field trials where you walk and handle the dog, or you can do horseback.
Right.
Or even in the walking field trials, if you have a horse and you like to ride, you can ride in the gallery.
Oh, they wouldn't care.
No, that's part of, because our scouts are always on horseback too. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So man, I love talking about it, but there's a segment for everybody and everything, and.
Yeah, and we're just touching on the pointing dog side of things. The Labrador world's
the retrievers and the spaniels and the beagles and the coonhounds.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something for
everyone.
everyone.
And what company sponsors all of these things, Greg?
All of them
Here's
would
a
be
segue.
Purina Pro Plan.
That's right.
Brought to you today.
This podcast is brought to you by Purina Pro Plan.
We've been around. I mean, I think this was our 56th Purina All-Age Dog of the Year. I mean, we've been around for decades and decades, and we haven't gone anywhere. And I'm pretty sure it's the same on the retriever and the coonhound side, which I don't touch. But our segment, it's like, we're the steady Eddie. We'll always be here, knock on wood.
Right.
So, and it's a blessing, and it's my dream job. But I'm also here to support these clubs that put on the NAVDA events. And we have a lot of thought process that goes through that when we're talking about our budgetary things, and how is this going to affect those clubs, those mom and pop clubs that are putting on the trials. We talked a little bit about that today. Not just always the quote unquote mothership of the national, NAVDA organization or the U.S. Complete or the, but how is it going to affect the Kettle Moraine NAVDA Club? How's it going to affect the Beaver Valley, Pennsylvania Club? Because if those clubs can't put on trials, there's not going to be anybody new.
Right.
We won't have anywhere to go as amateurs to run our dogs. Every amateur can't afford to put a dog on a pro string and pay those entry fees.
No.
So Purina recognizes that, and there's some things we, might not want to put money towards. But I would say we have to. But we do it to the benefit of the clubs on the grassroots level, because eventually it comes down to them.
Right. And it comes down to, making a product that
will perform.
Like I tell on my podcast, like, why do you want to be in the 1 out of 10? Why don't you just feed what the other 9 out of 10 of us feed?
9 out of 10.
I think it works pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, the history of the company is
it's
remarkable.
Great. I mean, and I only know the Cliff Notes version of it, but I mean, like I said, when you can have 400 plus scientists, nutritionists, and veterinarians on staff, I mean, it's untouchable. And the way we test our food and go to we don't go just to the standard, we go beyond it and we test it to their standards. So,
when we were talking on the tailgate this morning, I said, would you mind talking about the rumor mills, right?
No, I don't want to talk.
No, we're not.
No, but I will.
But it comes up like I call it like barroom banter or tailgate, bullshitting. And somebody goes, Purina changed this. Purina, my dog can't do this. And this is before I was involved with NAVDA. Like, I read a magazine. I'm like, oh, that must be a good food. Fed it. Never had a problem with. Never ever had a problem with. But there's dogs that have, hypoglycemia these days. I mean, there's dogs with. But when you change packaging or try a different idea, somehow it turns into Purina's not doing what they did for us.
It's going to hell in a handbasket or whatever that saying is.
Right.
But no, what we were talking about earlier today was changing the formula and, people saying everything is different or wrong. Again, the Cliff Notes version, or what kind of happened in the last 3 years, is we did add probiotics to,
which is your
the Fortiflora.
Fortiflora.
Yeah, so we added a level of probiotics across the board to our formulas. There were already formulas that had it in it.
Right.
A small amount.
Right.
So we added that in. Let's just say it was 3 years ago for numbers to make this easy. We had an unbelievably great sales and year, to the point of we couldn't source enough probiotics to get into that formula because it was across the board. We couldn't get enough of it. And in the meantime, we went to a new packaging with the gold logo and, new branding and everything. And we had the little seal on the bag that said, added Fortiflora or probiotic added with your, ingredients. So we couldn't get enough of it. But we were also getting feedback on some of the formulas. The dogs weren't taken to it so well. And it was a percentage of them that would get upset GI systems. They would get loose stools. Some of them got sick. And, maybe it was a transition from the old to this new probiotic formula, whatever it was. But we took that seriously, and we looked at also we couldn't source enough of it, so we went back to the old formula.
So with a new bag.
Still with the new bag.
New bag.
So we have this new formula with probiotics. We couldn't get enough of it. Some dogs weren't doing too good on it. So we told ourselves, research, whatever it was, let's go back to the old formula that was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's in the new bag.
Right.
So everyone thinks, well, so this new bag has the old formula in it.
We
took the seal off of it. It does not say probiotics.
And when you say change formula, you really didn't. No. You added. It was actually an additive.
It was an additive.
You didn't go, we need more salamander.
No.
We got to resource anaconda.
No, it was a chicken and rice. It was a salmon and rice. It was the same formula. Right. We just added the probiotic to it.
Now, you guys we still sell the
Fortiflora, most definitely. And we actually, now it comes in a capsule, in a tablet.
Oh, instead of the powder?
Well, both.
Oh, okay.
So some dogs, if when you're traveling, they're tough eaters. They won't eat when they're on the road. You take that powder off, and it's like putting salt or something on their food. They'll eat it.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a kennel and you like to use it as a regiment that you use like daily or every other day, it's easier just to open that can and throw a pill in their dog food.
And they just gobble it up.
Gobble it right up. So we have both. We still have it. It's probably it's a great product, and I keep some on hand all the time.
Yeah.
But so we took that out. It was confusing to people. So we're back to our quote-unquote old formula, new branding, and some people still might say, hey, they changed the formula. No, we haven't changed.
It's just the same quality.
It's the same quality. It's the same research. It's the same quality of ingredients. But, we just took the probiotic back out.
Right.
But it does have the same branding. And for the other confusion, for a while there were still inventory with the old bag.
Okay.
So you had the old bag and the new bag on the shelf in a different store, and everyone's like, wait a minute. And I said, no, that you can see this shell game that's going on with that, and then I can see the confusion.
Right.
But no, that inventory is all done, and it's the new branding and the old formula.
Right, which I need a new hat with the new brand.
I think I know someone who can help.
And you'll have to mail it to me because you didn't bring me a new hat. I didn't want to.
You can stop by my house on the way home.
Okay, yeah, you're not that far out of the way.
No, not at all. But
so the field trials, I want to touch on. In NAVDA, we have the Versal Championship,
correct?
Which we never had back in the day. You get to utility level and go hunt your dog. It's kind of like it was.
Yeah. How long ago was that? Or when did the VC start?
I'm going to say at least 20 years ago. But NAVDA's, I think, on its 60th year now. So, And in fact, the first time I ran it, I think there might have been 6 dogs or something.
You got to start
we
somewhere.
didn't even get prize 1 dogs back. It was hard to get a prize 1. I mean,
Gotcha.
I think training's gotten better. Chapters got better. You know, a new person comes in and the chapter already owns 4 bird launchers.
Right.
You know, if for steadiness down the road. Do all the organizations, the field trials, whether it's AK, do they all have a pinnacle type test?
Championship?
Like I know the one for the field trial circuit, at least.
Yeah, so
the one that's held at the Ames Plantation.
Ames Plantation is the national all-age champion. So the biggest running dogs.
Right.
That's at Ames Plantation, second Monday of every February.
No matter what the weather is.
No matter what the weather is.
Snow, ice.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yes, and yes.
Yeah.
And so then the shooting dog, which is the next bigger running dog, you know, so you have the all ages, the biggest running dog, the shooting dog's the next lower running dog, and then you have the walking. The shooting dog is at, no, I'm drawing a blank. It's in Alabama.
But that's got its own level.
That's its own national championship. Then each walking organization has its own national championship. The U.S. Complete, I believe they host theirs at Hoffman, North Carolina. The NBHA hosts there in Dansville, Tennessee. So every pointer, like the AKCs, the American Pointer Club has a national championship.
Right.
The Beasleys have a national championship.
Right.
The Brittany's have a national championship.
It's a lot to keep track of.
The NASTRA has, again, it's Dog of the Year. They host 4 national championships, an endurance, a Dog of the Year, a Purina Award. You know, so they have multiple nationals, and they all have different ways to qualify for those or get invited. Some are invitational championships.
Yeah.
So, going back to what I said about NASTRA, where you have to earn points to be a champion, flip that over to the American Field / UKC championships. The only way you can be a champion in that segment in the Field Dog Stud Book is to win one of those, to be named a champion in one of those championship trials.
Wow.
So there are no points. So you can run a 10-year-old dog.
You might as well say there's no second place either.
There's no second place. What I tell you before, there's only one person going away happy at a trial. Because even if you got second or runner-up, you're mad because you wanted to be number 1.
Yeah.
So AKC, though, does have a point system. They're kind of like NASTRA. You win so many big trials, you add points to your amateur field trial champion, AFC, or there's just FC field champion.
Gotcha.
So the American Field / UKC, and I say that because the UKC bought the American Field.
Recently.
Yeah, with
about a year?
Year ago. Yep. And so there's no point system whatsoever in that. You have to win one to be one.
So get T-shirts made for that.
Win one to be one.
Win one to be one.
But it's not hard. But it's like I've been fortunate enough to. I just retired him. I have a 3-time national champion. And when you get one as an amateur, there's nothing like. I mean, it's like you're grinning for a month.
You got to be.
Oh man,
that's like your kid throwing the winning touchdown at the high school homecoming game, right? You're like, yeah, it was my boy.
Yeah, you don't forget it, and it's something that it's like golf. You hit that one good shot. It's like you have that one good dog. You just keep coming back for more. It's
can't help
addicting.
it.
Yeah, it is. So that's in a nutshell what's a little bit different about. I don't know if I've hit all the segments, but they're you know,
we haven't even touched like the flushing and the retrieving world.
I won't because that's Greek to me.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know that.
I got to do more episodes with that because I know there's a lot of people hungry to do something that way too.
Yeah, but the AKC, they have their, point systems. They have their trials. Some of them are retrieving trials. So there's a segment and there's an area for everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone. So as you can hear here, they're doing tests behind us.
Yeah, we have some gunshots going behind us. We're
None
at the lunch
of us
tent. So I think I asked this to you last time, but this is another one of them tailgate. These dogs don't do that because they only do that. Now you trial your dogs.
Correct.
You judge some.
Correct.
And you hunt.
Yes.
Same dog.
Same dog.
Same dog.
And I'll never stop. Same dog. So,
but I've literally heard people say, like,
field trial dogs.
Oh, field trial dogs. You can't hunt a field trial dog.
Well,
and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
No, because we were talking earlier, is these field trial dogs are biddable. They have the drive. They have the stamina. They all love birds. They want to point them. They want to find them. And if you can handle one of them, and that's one of the key things that people might think secondary, but if you talk to a lot of these trialers, they know in their breeding they've got the point, they've got style.
Right.
You need to be able to handle that dog. And those dogs, they know when they're hunting.
Yeah.
They know when they're braced next to someone and there's 30 people on a horse behind them.
Right.
They know when they're in field trialing. So, example, my setter that I just retired, again, he's a walking champion, but in big grounds, Grove Springs, Missouri is one of them. But I take him in the woodcock and the grouse woods. We sharptail Huns and pheasants in the Dakotas, and he's been on quail and in the South. So
And he can't handle any of them, can he?
No, he's a bootlicker. He doesn't put any. I retired him because he tore his ACL last year in North Dakota, and I will never. I have last year, first day on the ground, first find. In my mind, I can see it right now. I shot it, killed it, retrieved it right to me, took a picture, and
he started limping.
That was the first day. He started limping after I left, like in the 7th or 8th day.
Okay.
I wasn't out there, but so it's just they field trial dogs are bred and born to hunt. And it's what you breed into them, the stamina, but they all have to handle.
Right. And you said something that we don't get as critical on in the like the hunt testing world. But we really never want a dog behind us.
No.
I mean, it happens, right?
happens.
I mean, especially, let's say, if you're pheasant hunting in some cover.
Yeah. Oh, cattails or whatever.
You're going to have to take what you get hunting wild pheasants. That's the sneakiest bird on the planet. And
it's tough on a pointing dog.
It's very tough on a pointing dog. But when you said, like, for that style, for like a field trial, to stay at like the 10-2, you got to have a dog that can understand that's what you want out of it and work it. I mean, there's a way to work it with check cord and open fields, but then to maintain that, and not get that like run off. Like, I think I'll go.
Yeah,
a lot of times they're going back to check where the last bird was shot, right?
And a lot of that is training and handling and not letting them get away with it when they're younger.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking when we were out in the field, actually, right after your brace, is when I cut a dog loose early on, I'm going to put a bird on an edge about 300 yards, or maybe 200 yards out. So one of his first casts, he might find one on the edge.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to keep putting those birds out front. And if they get lateral, we're going to talk to them, whistle, maybe use a little electronics to make sure they don't get behind us.
Right.
One of the biggest things I tell new handlers when I'm judging, don't wait till your dog gets to 10-2 before you start talking to them, because by the time they make a loop,
he's going to be at 9-3.
They're going to be 9-3, and it's going to be from behind you.
Right.
So talk to him before he gets out there.
Makes sense.
And the other thing, talking to him, and you notice this in field trialing, and I don't see it in NABDA at all because it's not required or needed.
Right.
We sing to them, and I think we talked about this in the first one. We'll tell them, let them know where we are. So if they're out there at 10 o'clock and we see them kind of still going to the left, we'll start singing and calling and be a little bit louder to them. And, hey,
it could be like, hey, boy, just some kind of cadence that.
And when these dogs start to learn you're on foot, it's really cool to see when a guy is on a horse and he rides up there and he starts singing, and the dog's at 10 o'clock starting to turn, and he turns that horse to his right, and that dog throws his head up and he sees the horse going to the right. That dog will change his direction and come with him. And that's trained early on, that you got to get them to come and go with you.
Right.
And you don't want them to come from behind. In field trialing or really in hunting, I don't want to be looking behind me.
No. I mean, it's not most of the action, except for maybe that rough grouse that you walk by. But still, he was in front of you. You just didn't have to find him.
I told someone today, I said, when I'm judging, I don't turn around.
Right.
I don't care what's going on behind me.
Mm-hmm.
If a dog's behind me, I'm not going to look at him, use them.
Right.
So I'm not going to turn around and look.
Yeah. The closest thing we have to that for puppies, if we start to see a puppy that we think is doing that, like just hunting way off to one side, we'll just tell the handler and we'll say, we're doing this for the puppy's good. We're going to take the whole gallery, whether it's him and his wife or 3 judges. We're going to go 90 degrees, and hopefully that's going to get that dog to say, oh, I didn't know we were going that way.
Yep.
But you guys have to take it to a level of like counting on it.
Well, you have to be proactive versus reactive.
Right.
And you want to sing to him. I'll sing to him. I'll cut the dog loose, and he won't be 100 or 200 yards straight away ahead of me, and I'll just reel that a boy, and I'll just be quiet so he knows I'm there.
Right.
And so he's not looking back like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll just let him get going, and then you got to know the course, so you need to know where to turn them. But I think that's handling any type of dog.
And then applying that to the hunting field.
And then really handling them when they're out on a field trial and they're,
Right.
on an edge at,
Would you say that the open prairie is the most conducive
to
like the pointer setter? I mean,
yeah, I mean, if
just because they tend to run,
they run
300 yards, their normal range.
Their comfortable range.
Or should I even say it's a normal range?
No, their comfortable range is, I'm going to just say, bigger than the wire hairs, the Drothars,
right?
Brittany's,
what have you.
But we say that because last year I was out in North Dakota with my trainer, and I had just gotten my pointer back from some training in the Dakotas, and I looked at my trainer and said, "Let's see how far 200 yards really is."
Right.
So we had the Garmin, and we were looking, and it was like 250, and he looked like a speck. So when all these guys, I want a 300-400 yard dog. No, you really don't need one, or you don't want one. Yeah, they might get that far, but it's hard for a lot of they might say it, but to actually see it and go, all right, that's 250. That's further than it looks further than it really is.
Oh yeah.
But they do range a little bit further. Again, it's bred into them, but again, you have to handle them.
Right.
And then you have to have your training, as with utility dogs, steady to wing and shot. So when they go on point, they're going to stand there till they get there.
Right. And doesn't matter what that bird does.
The wild bird might get out of there.
Sure.
But you don't want him ripping it out of there.
Right.
So.
Right. And again, at 200 yards, you wouldn't even know if he did happy feet, would you?
No.
You're like, is that my dog?
Yeah, I don't know what he did.
Now we're going to have to carry binoculars when we're hunting.
No. So I let him use that range when I can control it.
What do they do in the grouse woods? What do you like? Just like a personal like in the grouse woods?
I don't want to see my dog.
Right.
I like bell range. Some of these guys like bell range to where you can barely hear that bell.
Like if it was windy, you might not hear the bell.
And he could just be over the hill right next to you, you know.
Yeah.
But no, I like to hear the bell, and then cutting in front of me. Yeah, every now and then I'll see him. Right. But I want to be able to locate that bell. If it goes silent on my left, I want to be able to walk over there.
Right.
And what I found too, and I'm not as proficient in grouse trialing or even hunting.
Right.
I'll think that dog is further away than it is because I think that bell is so faint. But then you're right. You're over like two little humps, and there's a creek down there, and the wind's coming.
Right.
He's really not that far away. But that bell sounds like it's almost silent.
Yeah.
We were talking last year, the grouse trials, again, they're very similar to everything else. You're on a course. You want them 10 and 2 in the front. You don't want them from behind. For a while, what I was told, 15, 20 years ago, they didn't want to see the dog, and they barely wanted to hear that bell. And
so
then
for their judgment, they'd be totally happy if
they barely saw the dog.
You almost say lost the dog.
Right.
Almost.
And then you go find them buried on a grouse. Then the trialing got a little different, maybe the training, maybe the breeding, where they wanted to see them a little bit more.
Right.
So the judges were picking, I won't say closer working, but more, closer working in the woods. So you see them, 5, 6, 7 times, 8 times in an hour, whatever. And now it's kind of in between. But I like it. Hey, I don't want a dog that I could flush birds in front of myself with my feet.
Right.
So go find me a bird.
Go find me a bird.
I'll come
get
find
to you. I just don't want to walk a quarter and a half a mile.
Right. Yeah, and you can tell nowadays it's so blessed with these Garmins, the Tri-China. You can look down and go, well, he's moving.
Oh,
I can't see him.
You've got the watch on too, don't you?
Yeah.
That's the
best thing.
That's the best thing that they ever made.
It's not vibrating. He's moving. I can't hear him. Now I'm going to correct him because he's too far away.
Yeah, and you just glance at your wrist.
Right.
Yeah.
It was hard before that. You didn't know if he was pointed, how far away he was, or anything, and you're like, is he lost? Is he pointed?
Yeah.
You don't know. But nowadays you can really let him roll.
So you're a bell in the woods dog.
Bell in the woods.
Yeah. That was like, I think the first thing I did when I moved to Michigan 30 years ago was buy a bell. When I got the dog, you got to have a bell.
Right.
Then everybody went to beepers. But then that same point, in good grouse woods, beyond 50 yards, you can't see your dog, basically. And you had no idea where he was. So I've always kind of stuck with the bell, unless I can't find it in my drawer or something.
And I will run them, if I have the right electronics, I'll run them together with a bell when he's running and the beeper on point mode only.
Okay.
So
if you don't hear the bell, maybe
you might hear the hawk screech or whatever that beeper is.
And then, or your watch will give you a tickle. That's a nice tickle in the wrist when that goes off, isn't it?
It's like, and I've learned you spin it around so you can put your gun up and you can still look at it.
Oh, see, I didn't. Yeah, see, I always got to turn my.
You don't turn your wrist, just spin your watch.
That means I got to put the watch on upside down and backwards.
No.
You're right.
So
you're right.
I like the bell. It's just kind of a cool thing to listen
And
in
do
the
you
woods.
keep the bell on them out west too?
No.
You just
Let them roll.
You just let them roll out
You
there.
can see them.
Yeah.
If you don't see them, they're either chasing a coyote or something.
That never happens.
But we don't hunt. I don't hunt in a lot of thick cattails or even big pheasant country.
Right. Mostly
So
Sharpie type
we're
country.
sharptail hunts with wheat stubble, cattle pastures.
Yeah.
If the alfalfa is over your calf, we don't go in it.
Right.
So you can see the dogs far, far away, and you have the garments to know. But we do no beepers, no bells, nothing. We do everything is walking.
Just walk out there. There's my dog.
Let them go. And it's nothing.
Where
I think that's nothing better.
Where'd you go? North Dakota last year? You said.
Yeah, I go to North Dakota every year.
Do you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Opener sharptails for a week.
I'll be going. You'll be there this year.
Yep.
I'll be out there. I'm not going to get there on the 10th because I got a family dove hunt in Virginia. All my daughters and son-in-laws.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
But I know. But I've never hit the opener for the early.
Well, I've been blessed to be with the partner or the trainer that I've got. That he's got tens of thousands of private acres and.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. I can't say where we're at.
No,
So
but
we're in North Dakota.
It's in North Dakota. That's only like 480,000 square miles or something like that.
So the opener sharptails, sharptails, huns. We'll even flush some little pheasants. We got to be careful not to pull the trigger on those.
Right.
So, but no, it's great for training, great for a little time away and still be working.
Still be working.
Air quotes. So
it's dog related. It's work.
It is. But there's still a lot of guys. I mean, the pros are out there right now training. Even though it's hot, they get a lot done in the morning. And then they'll start running some field trials here in a couple of weeks. Yeah. So the season kicks off in the Dakotas right now, and then we'll work our way back south. Yeah. Beginning of September.
Have you ever gone to Arizona and chased anything? Me neither, and I don't want to. My friends want me to go so bad, and then they tell me about getting flat tires on these terrible roads, and I forget what the Mearns quail is the one that's in the nice grassy stuff. Yeah. And but then sometimes we go chase,
Well, that's the thing. You can chase multiple ones, like all in the same.
But if I go there, I only want the nice terrain.
Oh, no, I've got a friend of mine, Jim Morehouse. He invites me out there all the time, and that's what he used to do after I think he got out of the military. Is that he would just take his short hairs and guide for people. So he knows everywhere. He's like, you got to come out, but never done it.
I haven't either. I think what I'm going to do probably next year, I'm just going to fly out and hunt with my friend's dogs.
There you go.
I'm not the guy that says, if I can't bring my dog. Sometimes not bringing a dog it's a really nice week.
You notice I don't have anything in my truck today.
You don't have to go walk them. You don't have to feed them.
You don't have to worry about waking them up.
Yeah, sometimes it's a pleasure.
Yeah, it is.
You wouldn't want to miss the Sharptail opener without your dogs, but I think you do the same thing. Go hunt Arizona with your buddy and his dogs.
I'd be happy with that. Any invitation like that, but no, so we'll be out there and then come back into Wisconsin and run some prairie chicken championship trials, some grouse trials, some sharptail trials, all in Wisconsin.
Wow.
So we've got it all right here, and then we start heading south doing field trials.
It seems counterintuitive, except that the birds are there this time of year and the cover comes down. Yeah. But it's hunting season. Yeah.
Well, I don't think there's a season on the prairie chickens or the sharptails here in Wisconsin, but I think we talk about this too. Is Wisconsin is one of I don't know any other state that you can have championship trials on woodcock, grouse, sharptail, and prairie chickens, 4 different species in one state.
That's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, obviously the DNR work with the dog clubs pretty good. Yeah. Like in Michigan, we have Michigan United Conservation Clubs. They're kind of our umbrella. Mm-hmm. Does Wisconsin have?
There's a group of individuals. It's not really a club or they work closely with the DNR in the states, and then each club that runs a trial on state grounds, there's a state representative that we work with to know about. Are
those grounds closed to hunting?
No.
Because that's what Gladwin, that's the one, I think it might be the only one in the country. There's never been a grouse shot at the Gladwin Field Trial grounds.
See, where the Wisconsin Cover Dog Championship is held is open forestry. Just state or federal, I can't remember which one. But and up at Moose River is the same. Mm-hmm. A lot of the places we run our throwdown field trials on state ground are also where they release pheasants. Yeah. So we got to watch out for turkey hunters coming through. Right. So, they know when we're there, and the state, typically we work pretty well with them. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of good resources here in Wisconsin in the fall, especially to field trial and to hunt. So.
Right. No excuse not to do anything with your dog.
Not up here.
And
I mean,
I'm sure I'm sure it reflects in, amount of bags of dog food you're selling.
yeah.
The dog world is like exploding.
Yeah,
I mean,
COVID had a lot to do with that.
I've heard that. I wonder why. I mean, I get it where like the shelters were empty because people said, we should have a house
Right.
dog. But the sporting dog world,
Yeah, I think
I
you're
don't know
right
if
because
I don't know if it was just COVID timed or if we didn't have COVID, it would have still been.
I think it was healthy. I think COVID allowed people to spend more time with their hunting dogs and spend more training time and maybe want more. But you're right, the dog industry in general, the pet care industry in general, when COVID hit, there were shelters where, people were adopting dogs and then getting a puppy and then they had so much time on their hands
Right.
and they're at home.
Working from home.
The kids didn't go to school or whatever.
How many people have said, oh, I can't get a dog because I'm gone from the house and I'm single.
Right.
I'm gone from the house 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good time to get a dog.
I think it all in general, the whole
Yeah.
industry, and I'm sure Purina and ProPlan weren't the only ones, but we had a record year in 2021. And like I said, we're 30% above that in the first quarter of this year. So the demand is ungodly.
There's a lot of dogs to
There's
feed.
a lot of dogs, and
Yeah.
they all got to eat.
Yeah.
So
And is ProPlan sold in other countries,
there's Canada.
but not like Europe?
It's a different line. It's still ProPlan, but again, formulated or
Is it
produced over there.
Produced over there?
Yes.
But
yes.
it's under
ProPlan.
It's
or
under
Purina.
under testing and the same.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Same AFCO testing.
Because I got a dog one time. I imported a Bronco. And it
I'm
was
sorry.
that
was just too easy.
No, I know. I walk right into these. It's like I'm meant to be the straight guy in the stand-up routine.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and it took me 10 years to shake that drug habit. But he got, like, all of a sudden he was having some bone growth problems.
Okay.
And my vet was an orthopedic surgeon, and I think he knew bone. And he kind of referred to it as rickets, like what you get from a vitamin C deficiency.
Huh.
And he said it's, some of the foods in Europe, they just don't have that stringent.
Okay.
And they're not adding all the stuff to it, And, of course, when I got him, I started feeding him what I always fed my dogs. And he came out of it in a couple, 3 weeks and everything, and he lived to be an old dog and everything. But
I'm sure there's different standards, different levels of vitamins or omega that they might have to have in their standards.
Right.
But it is. And
can we be sarcastic to one thing?
no.
Okay.
Sure.
A little bit. We can always edit this out.
No.
Have you ever understood why anybody would want to make their own dog food?
No.
Does
I'm
that
sorry.
not seem like that's like saying I want a toddler for 18 years, right? It's way too much work.
It's too much work, and it's scary.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the health. And there's always going to be a segment that's going to feed raw, or they're going to try and produce their own dog food. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of work.
Right.
Extra freezer space. God forbid you'd get a little salmonella or something in one little
Right.
To me, it's scary, and
Right.
it's really time-consuming and hard when I don't know what the anti-kibble mindset is, but when you can, no matter what brand
But I never
it is,
heard
you
of
could
it
go
20 years ago.
Right.
Like I just didn't.
You can go into a store and buy something off the shelf that has the same, if not better, nutritional value than what you're concocting and making. Which
because you're not taking your vitamin C and grinding it up and putting it in there because the dogs need all that stuff.
And they need certain levels of all that stuff each time.
Right.
So when you're fixing it or you actually heated it up too much or not enough, they're getting different levels at different time. And it might have been a frozen chicken. Well, now this one's thawed out a little bit. It's like there's no rhyme or reason or consistency to it. I mean, there is some consistency to it. The dog's not dying. And so but.
Yeah, I'm not knocking it. I just have never
I never understood.
That would be like, you know what? I'm going to decide to open up my own sewer treatment plant and not hook up to the city sewer, right? Now, again, if you live in the country, you got to have a septic system.
Right.
But that's like living in a city and say, you know what? I'm going to take care of all my own wastewater.
Right.
Like, who would want to do that much work?
It's a lot of work, and I mean.
And you said also raw too. Now I know, or I've heard, like the sled dog people, they'll do a lot of.
They'll add
dried
stuff.
fish, and
Yep.
I mean, and it probably has its danger level too, of course. But
well, and that might be availability too. And, if they have
Yeah.
fish and they can, I mean, you see it on TV, but,
Yeah.
Arlie Reynolds works for us as well. And he's a, veterinary nutritionist
And he
for
ran
us.
those.
He
all
ran
those
sled dogs and won
dogs.
all those trials and everything. And he sees value in a lot of that stuff, but that's where we get our fish oils and our omega-3 levels. And
Right.
it's a lot of his research that they do up there on those dogs.
Right.
So, yeah, it's a lot of work. For the safety of the dog, to me, it's easier just to go buy some kibble.
Buy brand name, good food. And it should have been on this country at least 100 years. And if the dog food's been around 100 years, I think
something's okay.
There's something. It's got to be pretty good.
And again, it's produced to AFCO or tested to AFCO standards. You can produce dog food that's to AFCO standards, which means they just give you a guideline of what ingredients and what levels of vitamin and stuff have to be in your recipe.
Right.
We actually test the dog food to those standards.
Right.
And on the bag, it'll tell you if it's tested
right.
or if it just meets.
Right.
So you can pull up your bag of
whatever
Old Roy and see what it says. And if it matters to you, if that dog food actually has been tested,
right,
you can tell if that dog food, or if it just meets the standards, means that Ron and Greg went and got the ingredient level and we threw it together and we made some kibble.
Yeah, well, I'm not, maybe it's because I'm Lutheran. I've never been much of a gambler. So
Me either.
You know what? Everybody knows what I feed.
And I always say competition is good. I mean, but I look at it too, as we were talking with testing and the field trials and all the different segments is, when I started in Astra, I fed Casco because that's who sponsored Astra, and now they're Purina. But there's something to be said of companies like Purina ProPlan who invest our money into these tests, into these field trials, because we are getting the best of the best people and the best animals feeding our product.
And you're getting the feedback from those people.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we haven't dipped out of this since Bob Weston before that.
Right.
I mean, we've been here for decades, and we'll be here long after I retire. So.
Well, you're getting a little gray in the chin.
Gray in the chin, yeah.
You're
losing the hair.
Well,
that's why I got a hat on.
But
no, I'm driving 55 right now, so I've got a few years left in me, and I can't complain. It's been a blessing.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's like I said, they invest their money back, and not only that, in habitat conservation and some of the big projects you guys did.
Yeah, we
cut a check to Pheasants Forever for $1 million.
Yeah, because they weren't able to do a lot due to COVID to get together with all of their organizations and their clubs, and so we donated back to their conservation. And Carl Gunzer, my boss, handles all those conservation relationships. Ducks Unlimited, Rough Grouse Society, Pheasants Forever. I mean, I don't even know all of them.
Yeah, all of them.
But there again, what companies can do that kind of stuff?
I know of one.
Yeah, and so and I'm proud of that. And we have a high quality food that, again, how many national champions are fed by it? How many Westminster Dog Show?
Yeah, we didn't touch on dog shows. My God,
there's a whole nother segment of the confirmation team. So the product is there, and we realize there's competition, but I don't think it can hold a candle over the decades and decades that we do. And again, we have our issues. Inventory was tough. We couldn't get enough of it made. We couldn't get logistics to work out.
Everything was messed up.
And it was the perfect bad storm for everybody. But we fight through those. But here's the thing: is we didn't dip and go away and fold our cards and say we're done. Tap, we're out.
Right.
Guess
what?
Through.
Next year we're not going to be able to help any of the sporting dog clubs. You guys just like no. It was just.
It is what it is. You guys have.
You said something that it rang a bell, and I've heard people say, it's owned by Nestle now. And what I heard you say, and maybe I said I'll quote you wrong, was when Nestle bought us, they said,
hands off.
Hands off.
Yep. And I don't remember how many years, if it's been 10 or 14.
It's been a while.
Since Nestle bought Purina.
Yeah.
But that's what they told us. So the guys over in Switzerland said, we bought you because you're doing it right.
Right.
So we're going to keep our hands off North America.
You just keep doing it.
Keep doing it in the way we've done it. And like I said, we broke record last year in ProPlan. We took #1 market share in the pet category, Purina ProPlan.
Right.
So we are #1. So they did it right.
Right. If you want to be #2, go to Avis.
Yeah. But and the dog food, and myself as a manager and the retriever guys, we're out here for these clubs and for the competitors.
Right.
Most of these people know me either emails, text, Facebook, whatever, and
I don't even think people realize the lines of communication are open for people.
Right.
It's not like, I can't get a hold of anybody at Miller Beer and Company. God knows I drink more Miller than anybody else. They don't talk to me.
Yeah.
But people can get a hold of you.
Yeah, if you're in the sporting dog group and the pointing dogs, somewhere sponsored by us, you've seen my name or whatever, or even what I tell people is call me. I don't have the answers, but I have a whole company behind me in St. Louis or Kansas City or Clinton that I can work on to get answers for you, or at least direction. It might not be the answers you want to hear.
It might not.
But it'll be the truth, and it'll be what we're doing and how we're doing it. And I always tell people, and it's not a cop-out, if you have an issue with a bag of dog food, dog didn't do good on it, you saw some of it was shredded up, it was a different size kibble, there is a Consumer Affairs phone number on every single bag. Mm-hmm. Call it.
And you want to know that.
St. Louis, Purina wants those calls because they document it, they track it, and that's the first thing I say. If you would call me, first of all, get a picture of the bag because there's a code on it. Call them, but I'm going to let them know that you're going to be calling.
Because I learned from in the food industry with the milk and the cream industry, all those barcodes, they'll know what minute it came off the line. They'll be able to know, like, there might be 100 bags that came off that line. They want to know. They want to know. So don't just complain. Whatever. If your dog food company does not have a phone number that you can call on it, don't feed it.
Don't feed it. And even if you have to leave a message and document it, it'll be documented.
Right.
Because, we want to hear about it before social media gets it first time. And I just bite my lip on everything.
Or it turns into tailgate talk.
Right. Kicking the stones in the driveway, and this did this and this did that. But no, that's what we're here for. And again, we'll work for you. I mean, we'll figure it out. We'll figure out what we can do for you.
I know you guys have always supported NAVDA. As long as I've had NAVDA around, and
I can't believe their growth. But what is there over 10,000 members?
I heard almost 11 now.
Yeah, and they're starting that new club program, trying to get new chapters.
Yeah.
Clubs,
it's going to be hard to do. I mean, just imagine trying to talk somebody who doesn't have horses in trials to say, hey, we need you to open up a new horseback trial thing. That's going to be tough to do.
But do you see them being able to do that? Like you say, the one in Minnesota might have, 300 members. Is that where it would be good for someone to spin off and take 50 of those guys and go start something if they have the grounds?
And I think what Minnesota did, if I may be wrong on this, but I know Pete is the president or was the president of that chapter, they had enough people living up near Pine Ridge.
Grouse Camp.
Pine Ridge Grouse Camp. They just said, look, we'll help you. Just have your training nights up there. So now they're having tests up there at Pine Ridge. That's a smart thing to do.
Sure.
To just say, like, let's try to get another one in Nebraska, because I don't know if we have one or two by Lincoln, I would say don't try to open up one in the middle of Nebraska.
Right.
You got to get people to come.
But at least the mothership is looking to ways to at least help and get.
They realize they got, I don't want to say a problem, they got an opportunity that they have to have some meetings about and say, if people want to test their dogs in this system, we've got to give them the venues for it.
Well, you can't keep being full. Then everyone's going to be like, well, forget it. I'm not going to go.
Right.
So, no, I say NAVDA is a really good one, and I've said it on multiple podcasts. NASTRA is really good for us. They have continuing full trials all the time. Mm-hmm. Again, every organization has struggles and has issues and tailgate talk, but when it comes down to good organizations, that's it.
There's something you can do with your dog out there.
Oh, I mean, hunt test. Don't just sit on the couch and let them become
but
fat
get a
Purina
check
pro
cord and work on 10 and 2, right?
Yeah, 10 and 2.
Start with
it
10
takes
and 2.
15 minutes a day.
And any hunter, I don't care who it is, does not want their dog running up behind them all the time.
Nope, I'm not turning around and looking behind me.
No, because I haven't shot. Like I said, I spun around and shot a rough grouse before. I've never shot a pheasant behind me or a sharp tail.
No.
They always seem to be in front.
Yeah. You want to see it happen, too. That's half the fun is your dog and the bird and stuff like that. But, no, there's a game, there's a segment, there's a hunt, there's a dog for everybody's style.
Right.
I mean, even if you have to get a wire-haired Vizsla.
Well, you know, nobody would sell me a short hair because they're like, he'll screw that up.
I tell you, he was smoking it today. He was nice. And what I saw.
I was very happy, and I told you about 5 weeks ago he was eating grass and taking
You
peas.
didn't know what you were going to get, did you?
And I was counting on good genetics. I knew the parents were tested, and I'm like, okay, he should do this. But I kind of was more on his obedience and his
Okay.
crate manners and his.
Yeah.
And I kind of let it slide a little bit, but it didn't take but a few.
Yeah.
And now he's turned into a little bit of a.
So let me ask you
Yeah.
this. So you were on the other side. Now you're a handler today.
Yeah.
When you went out there and you cut him loose, were you thinking as a judge, what is a judge looking for and trying to handle your dog accordingly, or were you just in natural ability letting him go?
I was letting him go. I was just happy to see him moving. But when he did a couple things like kept chasing a chucker
Right.
that he couldn't find, I went back into judge mode.
Okay.
I'm thinking, I wonder what they're thinking. What are they writing? Are they writing
Right.
notes on your card? Because I know I'd be writing a note on my card. It doesn't mean I'd be mad at the dog, but there'd be a note on my card.
Yeah.
You know, and we never expect a puppy to have obedience. There's
Right.
no obedience on
Especially
the card.
when they're chasing a bird.
When they're chasing a bird. But I've seen, to that point, I'll never forget it, was a Brock Bourbonnais. Not a lot of them around. They look like a very skinny, kind of short hair they're like,
Big scoop nose.
yeah, scoopy nose.
Yeah.
Very short dock tail. And in fact, I was here at this chapter judging. I might have been apprenticing. I should say we're hosted by the Harmeyer clan here at
Crystal Creek.
I mean, they have been a mainstay for
can't wait
NABDA.
to eat.
I know. I'm smelling the food. It's driving me crazy. But this Brock
So
Bourbonnais
Brock.
ran to a fence line, and this quail went under an old pallet. And we just couldn't – nobody could get their arm in there. But that dog couldn't search the next 20 minutes.
Really?
No matter, we'd walk him away, we'd spin him, we'd give him water, back to the pallet. So that's an extreme case. I'm hoping Tagus might have just a little note on the judge's card.
Yeah.
But I got to get him ready. I think they're going to be coming soon for the water or the
Good deal.
tracking. So
Yeah, he's a good-looking dog.
my day's not over, but I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You've seen a few dogs, so
I'm going to see you jump in the water.
I might
Not
see
you,
it.
Tagus.
Right, but let's hope if I have to jump in the water, we're screwed.
Water work, check.
Check. 0. No, it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to being in North Dakota. And
Good.
In case, we will not say it, but in case we're anywhere near the same county,
Yeah.
let's have a
beer.
A beer at the table. Because, if it got hot out there, it might have to be a midday beer or
Yeah.
something, and then a nap. But
I told you I'm 55. Naps come really easy.
naps are
Yeah,
where
naps
it's
are
at.
good. So
All
no,
right.
I really appreciate it.
Greg, thanks for coming on.
All right,
And
thank you,
thanks
sir.
for listening. I love you guys. I love you girls, and I love you girls more.